Hi, we just released our SEO update, which means that Lovable apps now are way more SEO optimized than ever before. Which means that basically when you're searching for the app you have built in Lovable on Google, there's a much higher likelihood now that it will appear because we have optimized SEO, which means search engine optimization. So basically you can research SEO right here. So search engine optimization is the process of improving a website to increase its visibility in organic free search engine results. So it involves optimizing content and technical elements to help search engines like Google understand, index, and rank pages higher. The goal is to drive relevant traffic and build brand trust. And basically you can distill it down into 4 things which we have done to improve the SEO friendliness of websites built with Lovable. Firstly, server-side rendering. So this has been highly requested for us to switch from client-side rendering to server-side rendering because it's better for SEO. And I will go into more detail what server-side rendering means later on in the video. But now every app built with Lovable will have server-side rendering by default and will be using the stack called the TAN stack, which is basically a way to build applications. Next up, we have pre-rendering for existing apps. So new apps built by Lovable right now will be using server-side rendering, but all of the old apps will still be using client-side rendering, but now with pre-rendering, which basically means that we'll pre-render a little snapshot of every single website and then give that to Google's crawlers, which basically means that the SEO will be basically just as good as server-side rendering for those apps. But I will go into detail or into depth more on that later on. Then we also have an SEO review and the dashboard. And then you also now have the ability to chat with the Lovable agent and ask it questions about your SEO and about how you rank in search using an integration that we now have with Semrush. It's basically like an SEO company that specializes in having your website rank well in search. And we now have like a native integration with them, which means that you can chat with the Lovable agent right here and ask questions about how your website is ranking and how your competitors are ranking and stuff like that. And I will go more in depth into that later on as well. Let's go over to this Lovable app here that I've built. So I've built this very simple Lovable app right here that AI generates images based on text. So basically you can write a quick little story. So for instance, let's say I wanted to write a story about the evolution of species on Earth. So like how animals changed and evolved over time on Earth. And I'm just gonna AI enhance this. There we go. And then I am going to generate a storyboard for this. And then it has splitted up the script into distinct kind of parts or concepts. And now it's going to AI generate an image for each of these parts, which is really cool. So we have like volcanoes, aquatic life, and then we have like, aquatic lives going on land. We have the dinosaurs, and then we have feathered dinosaurs. We have early mammals, and then we have like humans or primates. This is basically what the app does. It breaks down text and then generates images based on the text. Either way, the app is not the point, but the point is that we can now SEO optimize this app because this app is just this right here. But we want it to be SEO optimized such that when people search for the name of the app, in this case, I think we have just called it Concept Visualizer. We probably want a more specific name to be able to rank in search. But basically what we can do is that we can firstly go over here to the 3 dots and we can go over to SEO. And as you can see, we have this new SEO page now. And we have a couple of things here. So we can read here, improve your SEO, help your product get discovered in search engines and AI search by implementing best practices for search visibility, introducing SEO, reach more visitors, find and fix what's holding you back, etc., etc. Now I'm going to press on Scan Project, and then Lovable is going to conduct a kind of SEO review for me and tell me what things we can improve on this project to make it more findable on Google and on search engines. And then we also have this thing right here, ask Lovable to help, ask about your competitors, keywords, and what helps similar sites stand out in search. So basically this is powered by Semrush and will be able to fetch relevant data based on your particular app. So we can select one of these. What are the top content ideas for visual concept tooling? So let's do this one. And I'm just going to send this and let Lovable utilize this tool now to figure out the answer to this question. While that's loading, we can see that we also have our result now from our SEO review. So we can see that we're lacking a couple of things here, like image descriptions are too short, page descriptions are generic, social previews show placeholder text, AI summary is missing, crawler rules are missing, sitemap is missing. So we need to fix all of these things to be able to optimize our SEO. Okay, so now we can also see that Lovable agent has responded here, and it says your site isn't published yet, so there's no live domain for Semrush to analyze against competitors. Once you have published or connected the custom domain, I can pull a real head-to-head keyword traffic, backlinks, and gaps versus other concepts and script visualizers. So that's perfect. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start off by pressing on try to fix all for all of these SEO problems. And then I think I'm gonna go ahead and buy a domain and then basically ask the question again and publish the app. And then I'm going to see if Lovable is able to find some interesting data around this particular like app niche and around our competitors and so on and how they rank. Okay, so I took a bit of a break, but I'm back now, and we can see that Lovable has now responded and it's finished with updating and resolving these SEO findings. So if we now go back up to the SEO dashboard, we can see that all of these bullets are now resolved or fixed. And what I will do now is that I will actually publish this app. So I'm going to go up to publish, and I am going to buy a custom domain. So I'm going to go on add custom domain, and we should probably figure out what we should call this website. Right now it's called concept visualizer. That domain is probably not available, but we can give it a try. So conceptvisualizer.com. So we have conceptvisualizer.ai, but that's going to cost a bit of money. So maybe we shouldn't buy that, though I do think that's a pretty good domain actually. Let's just do .app for now, conceptvisualizer.app. Let's do a 1-year domain purchase, and let's actually disable auto renews, the missing information. Okay, so you have to configure all of this information. I'm just gonna do this quickly. Let's buy this on the company card. Okay, confirm purchase. And now I'm gonna run through this checkout. Okay, I've now purchased the domain. So now Lovable is loading. And there we go. Now I have registered the domain. You can manage your domain and billing in your workspace settings. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna press done. And now it's being configured. And it says that this can take a few minutes to a few hours. Hopefully it will be quick. I'm gonna try to wait it out. And now we just bought the domain from scratch within the Lovable UI, so now it's being connected automatically. But you may already own domains that you have bought from other domain providers. Like for instance, you might have bought something from Cloudflare or maybe from Namecheap or somewhere else. In those cases, you can press on connect domain and you can search up the domain. And after that, you can set up the DNS records and the other things to actually connect the domain. But in this case, I've just bought one, so I'm just gonna wait for this to load. But while this is loading, I'm actually going to open up my Excalibur drawings again, and I'm gonna go into more in depth what these things actually mean. So to start off, what is SEO? I kind of explained it quickly in the beginning, but basically it's a way to optimize where you will be in the search results. And now we're talking about SEO in terms of websites, but you can also have SEO in terms of other things, like for instance a YouTube video. You may want your YouTube video to rank in YouTube search or other kind of searches, maybe App Store search, etc. But now we're just talking about websites. And basically, there are 3 things which determine if a website is going to rank on Google. And these things are content quality, so keywords, headings, meta descriptions, and then also technical health, so page speed, sitemaps, crawlable HTML, and then authority, so backlinks, domain reputation, etc. Now, in this update that we made, we're mainly focusing on these 2 things because these are technical things that Lovable can help you with. But when it comes to authority and domain reputation, these are things that you have to build over time. So as people visit your website and stay on your website and interact with your website, your domain is going to gain like a reputation within Google's system, and Google is going to have it rank higher. So basically, the more users you get to your website, the more this is going to go up, and this actually matters a lot. But then, of course, you also want these things in place as well to be able to like leverage your domain's authority. So these things are basically the scaffolding or the base of your kind of domain ranking. If you don't have these things, then even if you have authority, these ones are gonna like bottleneck you pretty hard. So, and the benefit of ranking in search is that you will be able to get customers basically for free. This is not something where you have to spend money on. So if you're able to rank, like for instance, I'm building my app right here, Concept Visualizer. Okay, it seems like this one is live now, but Concept Visualizer, if I can rank for search terms like how to visualize complex concepts, and my website appears right here, then that's basically free traffic that I'm getting for search terms. So basically, I'm getting free marketing through simply ranking in search. So your goal should be to rank for a lot of these search terms that people put into Google, and to have your website appear there as like a relevant solution to their problem. So that's basically SEO. And of course, you also want your website to rank for the name so people can actually find it. So when you search this particular name, you want your website to appear. Okay, but it seems like my domains are live now. I haven't actually published the app, so I don't think nothing will happen. So now we just have to publish it. So if we go up here, continue, we actually want to update these things. So right now we have this name, concept visualizer, 10 visual takes on any idea. I think that's fine. We also want to create a favicon. A favicon is one of those icons up here that appears on a website. So we search up favicon. Actually, we can probably AI generate the favicon quickly. So what I'm gonna do is that I am going to ask Lovable, can you AI generate a favicon for my website and the OG image, and send them in the chat. Okay, it seems like we have our first image here. Let's see, I think this is the second image. Yeah, perfect. I'm just gonna wait for Lovable to finish. Okay, there we go. Now Lovable has supplied us with these two images. So we have this one as the favicon and this one as the OG social image. Now I think Lovable also added them automatically and attached them as these. No, maybe not. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna download these quickly, and then here I'm going to, okay, never mind, they were attached. Okay, perfect. And this one is going to be auto generated because I'm gonna leave it as blank, and then I'm gonna continue, and then I'm going to publish. We probably also want to run a security scan. What's the valid HTTP URL? Okay, it seems like we got an error on the OG image. Okay, there we go. Now our app is live. Let's check it out. There we go. Now let's also see what happened to the image. So we can see we have our favicon here. I'm gonna search up check SEO details of website. We can go into Semrush. We could create an account quickly, or we can use the check out metadata data of website. Let's do this one. I think this one is free. Okay, so hey Meta, let's see. Okay, so we see that the social image just appeared. So everything seems to be working fine, and we can see that these things are also appearing. The description, paste this concept or a short script, and instantly generate 10 distinct visual variants. Okay, perfect. And here we can see the tags as well. So everything is live on the web. And now that we have our domain, our custom domain, we can also ask some questions about this custom domain using the Semrush integration. So we can do what kinds of sites link to an AI image tools. I'm gonna do this one and I'm gonna submit it. And now Lovable is going to do a tool call to Semrush, which basically means it's going to query the Semrush data to get actual statistics to inform the answer of my questionnaire. What we can also do is we can go over to this flowchart right here, where we can see kind of what happens. You type something into the Lovable chat, the Lovable agent calls Semrush, gets the Semrush data, and then it interprets the data, and then it's going to answer me in the chat. So let's see what it says here. Here's what people actually search for. Grouped by intent, useful both for marketing copy and for example prompts on the homepage. Okay, perfect. So we have the meta category, huge intent, hard to rank. So AI image generator, AI art generator, AI photo generator. So we can see 800,000 searches per month, 90,000 searches per month, 165,000 searches per month. And then we also have these ones, visual style people want. Interesting. And we also have it ranked by difficulty. So what we would want to find are keywords which are getting many searches but are not too difficult to rank for. But usually those are correlated, of course. Strategic takeaways for concept visualizer. Don't fight AI image generator head on. That makes sense. Instead, own the niche framing, concept visualizer. Script to storyboard, AI B-roll generator. That makes a lot of sense. Storyboard is gold, 33K searches, and you literally have a script splitting mode worth a dedicated landing page to. Okay, interesting. I like this. Make styles SEO landing page, 1 page per module. Answer the question, what is concept art, how to make concept art as a blog post that funnel into the tool. Great ideas. You can go ahead and build out the landing pages and maybe also a basic version of the blog. I'm gonna send this over and I'm gonna allow Lovable to just optimize these things based on the data. Now, while this is loading, I'm gonna go and cover all of these other concepts. Okay, so we know what SEO is now and why we should care about it. But what are these other things? Like, for instance, server-side rendering. This is also related to SEO because this is kind of how your website is being served to the web. So basically, when you're in your browser and you navigate to a website, what happens under the hood is that you download the front end of that website. You download the parts that you click around on and you interact with. And then as you click around and you interact, the website communicates, or actually the parts that you have downloaded, so kind of the website which you have downloaded, the buttons and everything, the UI, communicates, or your computer communicates with the server that the website is being hosted on. And then this communication happens back and forth. So basically you have your computer or the client, which is basically Chrome. It's running Google Chrome or some other browser. It goes to a website. So for instance, let's say our concept visualizer website. Here's Chrome. It chooses to open this website right here. And then, so Chrome goes to the website URL and tells the server that hosts this website to provide us with the actual contents of the website. And in our case, this is a Lovable app, so it's being hosted on Cloudflare servers. And Cloudflare is like a hosting provider we use. They're very quick, and they have some other really cool features specifically for SEO as well. But then this content will be returned back to our computer, the client, and then the user is able to navigate the website. So this is like the website content. Button, like images, buttons, UI components, etc. Maybe I can screenshot this. So you have the website being served like this, and the server is basically also just a bunch of computers, usually in like one of these. Yeah, I mean, they look like this basically. This is the server. So the internet is basically just a bunch of computers communicating to each other. So when we talk about server-side rendering, what we're talking about is how the server serves the website to the client. And there are different ways of the server serving the website to the client. And these are the various ways that it can be done, or some of the most popular ways it can be done. Okay, by the way, guys, I went really in depth on this topic because I think it's pretty interesting and I think people would be interested. But you can also like kind of skip this part, or also just watch a bit of it and kind of skip the later parts. I will have like a chapter in the video where I'm talking about these things. So if you're not super interested in about hearing the technical details of this, you can just skip it. But basically, we have server-side rendering now, and it's better for SEO compared to client-side rendering. So you have client-side rendering, CSR. You have server-side rendering, SSR. And then you have static site generation, SSG. And all of these ones are kind of different. So to start off with client-side rendering, this is what we had before at Lovable. So previously, when websites were being built, they were being built and they were being served using client-side rendering. And basically what this means is that you have your client right here, the browser, and it requests a page from the server. And then the server sends over a JavaScript bundle, and JavaScript is basically a programming language. It describes, it's a scripting language, so it describes logic and how behavior should work, basically. And then that JavaScript is turned into an interactive page or into an HTML page. And HTML is kind of the language of the web, basically. So it's the thing that you interact with, it's the skeleton of the website. And the reason why you have this two-step process, instead of just serving HTML, you serve JavaScript, which bundle into HTML, is because modern web development frameworks actually write code kind of directly into JavaScript instead of HTML. And this is because JavaScript is responsible for the interactivity on a website, and modern websites are very interactive, so it's basically just easier to write inside of JavaScript directly. That's kind of what's going on. But you also have things like React, and React is basically like a version of JavaScript, or like a kind of combination of JavaScript and HTML that then is compiled into HTML. So this is why you have the two-step process, because it's kind of easier to write in React as a developer. And Lovable also writes in React. However, there's a way where we can have the benefit of writing inside of JavaScript or inside of React, while also not having this kind of build stage where we take the JavaScript and then turn it into HTML on the browser side. And that's by doing it on the server side instead. So basically, the browser is your user's machine. You want to offload as much work as possible from the user's machine, such that the user can just run the website smoothly. And it also has to do with SEO ranking. So when Google goes to your website to index your pages, it's using bots, it's using crawlers. You kind of think of crawlers as like these digital spiders that go on websites and they automatically like try to get as much information from the website as possible to index it, to understand what the website is about, such that Google will actually be able to have the website rank in search for relevant keywords. At least traditionally, not very good at understanding JavaScript directly, right? Because they understand HTML, they don't understand JavaScript. So when you have this stage where the website has to be bundled by the user and has to like be turned into HTML, this little crawler gets confused and it doesn't understand what the website is about because it's all JavaScript. It's not HTML. It's not the actual elements on the screen. Rather, it's just this script that is then turned into the elements. So to prevent this, we have server-side rendering, which basically means when you make a request, the request is bundled or rendered or compiled into HTML on the server side instead. And then the HTML is served to the client, to the user's browser. So when the Google spider comes and crawls to the website, it gets HTML back instead of JavaScript. It's like the website was never built with JavaScript or with React because it's already compiled into normal HTML. So this basically makes it such that the website ranks just as well in search as any other HTML static website. Then we also have this thing called static site generation, which is another alternative that we don't use at Lovable. Instead, we use the server-side rendering, but basically static site generation means that every time you, as a developer, finish programming your project, like every time you finish an update to your website, that website is then rendered as HTML. So when you have server-side rendering, every time the user requests a page, the server takes the JavaScript, makes it into HTML, and then serves it to the user. In this case, the HTML is already built when the programmer finishes programming the code, which means that when a request comes in, that HTML is just served immediately instead of being rendered or being built. And this sounds like a pretty smart solution, right? Like, why not just render the HTML directly when the website is finished coding and programming? Why always like re-render the HTML all the time? But it's not so simple because when a user makes a request to a page, there might be some elements of that page which should be different based on how the request looks like or based on the time of day. So basically, if the website has a lot of dynamic elements, if the page which you request on the website has a lot of dynamic elements, then you don't want those elements to reflect the state where the website was when the programmer finished programming the update, or when you sent your last prompt in Lovable. You want the state of the website to be up to date. You want the dynamic elements to be up to date. Like, for instance, in the website, let's say you have the user's name. Let's say maybe you have like a leaderboard. You would want that leaderboard to be up to date. And basically, you can't really do that with static site generation because that element is like dynamic. So if you just build the HTML and you don't update the HTML, then that little component will not be dynamic, basically. And there are ways, some frameworks work around this by having some elements be static while others are not static. But basically, for the sake of simplicity, we went with server-side rendering. And I think it makes a lot of sense in this particular case because a lot of users are, of course, building web apps and are building complex dynamic components on their websites that have to be up to date. So server-side rendering is like a really good solution to this. And because servers are really quick today, this kind of rendering stage is really, really quick. Like this right here seems to just be the best solution. So here you can read on this quickly. So here's something counterintuitive. People assume SSG is always faster, and for static marketing pages, it is. The HTML arrives instantly because it's pre-built. But what if your page has dynamic data, like a dashboard with the user's actual orders? With the SSG, the HTML still arrives instantly, but it arrives empty. There's no way to know the user's order at build time. So you see a loading skeleton, then the JavaScript downloads, then it makes an API call to fetch the data, then it renders. With server-side rendering, the server takes a moment longer upfront because it's fetching the data and rendering the HTML. But when the HTML arrives, the data is already in it. No skeleton, no extra round trip. So for static content, SSG wins. For dynamic content, server-side often feels faster to the user. even though the first byte arrives slightly later. That's why for app builders like Lovable, where most pages have dynamic content, SSR is the better default. So basically, this was just a quick little explanation. I got some help from Claude to write this cleanly. Yeah, for those who are wondering. And here's also the whole flow of how a website kind of serves content. Now, for pre-existing apps, so apps created before this update, which are client-side rendered, we have implemented another solution. So we have implemented pre-rendering for those apps. And basically how pre-rendering works is that we take snapshots of the websites, and then those snapshots are served instead of the actual websites to these crawler bots, which means that the crawler bots will still be able to see the HTML and the rendered content of the website when they're crawling the internet, which means that they will be able to rank in search, and the crawler bots won't have any issues with getting the right information to index the website. So basically here's a little graphic on how this works. So human, visitor, Chrome, Safari, etc. Lovable server inspects the user agent's header. Is this request coming from a known crawler, or is it used from a user? We have the crawler right here. And then if it's a user, it serves the React app and the JavaScript bundles and loads and renders the HTML and the full interactivity. While if it's a crawler bot, the server serves a pre-rendered snapshot. So static HTML, fully populated, and no JavaScript, such that the crawler can instantly read it and then index the site, etc. So this is a good solution that we have done for existing apps. So even if you built your apps before this update, they will now still be very friendly for these crawler bots and be able to rank in search. Now, also to note, modern crawlers can actually bundle JavaScript, at least most of them. So if we go on the internet and we search, can Google's crawlers index server client-side rendered sites? Yes, Google can crawl and index client-side rendering sites, but it does not do it in the same way it crawls traditional HTML websites, while Googlebots use modern headless Chromium engine to execute JavaScript and render content. Relying solely on client-side rendering can lead to indexing delays or incomplete rendering if the process is too complex or slow. So basically, the modern crawlers can still index client-side rendered websites, even without pre-rendering. However, it is still the better practice to have server-side rendering or one of these pre-rendering mechanics. All right, but let's go over here now. So we also have something new now called AEO, which means Answer Engine Optimization. So we have search engine optimization, but now because of ChatGPT and Claude and these AI chatbots, we also want these chatbots to recommend your website to users when they're chatting with them. So for instance, let's say I'm talking to ChatGPT and I ask it, I have this concept I want to visualize, but I don't know how. Then, preferably, in a best case scenario, we would want ChatGPT to have our website either within the training data, so it knows about it, or we want ChatGPT to search on the web and ask, is there a website to do this task? And then we want our website to appear, and then we want ChatGPT to recommend our website. And this is what's called AEO. Answer Engine Optimization. So you want your website to both be SEO friendly and IAO friendly. And we can see here some details on kind of how you do this. So we have the traditional SEO. You need these things: page speed, title tags, meta descriptions, etc., etc. You want it to be crawlable. And then for chatbots, you want the data to basically have a clear, just semantic meaning. So these bots really like Markdown. So Markdown is like a format of writing text, and you want clear factual statements and structured data, and you basically just want it to be simple text as if a human had made the request and requested the website, basically. And interesting enough, Cloudflare, the server hosting provider that we're using, actually has a feature for this. So Cloudflare has this thing called Markdown for Agents. What is Markdown for Agents? Markdown has quickly become a lingua franca, which basically means a global language for agents and AI system as a whole. The format explicit structure makes it ideal for AI processing, ultimately resulting in better results. Okay, this is a bit of a funny wording. Ultimately resulting in better results while optimizing token waste. So Cloudflare's network supports real-time content version at the source for enabling zones using content negotiation headers. When an AI system requests a page from any website that uses Cloudflare and has Markdown for Agents enabled, they can express the preference for text/Markdown in the request, and our network will automatically and efficiently convert the HTML to Markdown when possible on the fly. And we have this enabled, which means that your Lovable website, if an agent requests it with the text as markdown, it will be provided the page as markdown, which means that it's really good for these kind of chatbots. So that's also really cool. And then we also have this right here. Your website is building crawlers or visitors. So basically, we also talked about the sitemap, which is basically just a description of how your website is structured. And then you also have the robots.txt, which basically says which parts of the websites should be indexed. So for instance, you probably really don't want these things to be indexed on the search, while you would want these things to be indexed. And that's basically what this file describes. All right, so amazing. Now we have basically covered all of these concepts, and I hope you guys now understand SEO and also IAO more in depth. But if I'm going to be honest, I think, at least this is from my experience, I think this is one of the most important things actually, and that's the authority of your domain. So like if you can get users to your app, then your domain authority will increase, and Google will much rather prefer serving a website that people are actually using a lot than a website that people are not using. And it's kind of similar to YouTube and these other social media platforms where the algorithms have advanced over time and are better at understanding which types of videos or posts, and in our case, websites, that people are actually interested in. So before, back in the days, you can actually optimize some of these things, include a bunch of backlinks on your website and kind of hack the search of the website by using these backlinks. Now, like kind of hacking the system like this is way harder because the algorithms are more complex and are better at kind of understanding user intention. So maybe I can just pull this up. So the importance of backlinks in SEO back in the days. Maybe we can have some explanation here quickly. Back in the early days of SEO, late 1990s or late 2000s, backlinks were arguably the most important factor in search rankings, acting as the foundation of Google's page rank algorithm. The core philosophy was that links function as votes of confidence, where more links signal greater authority and trustworthiness, making a website more likely to appear at the top of search results. Here's the overview of the importance and role of backlinks in the early days of SEO. Link sharing schemes. So you can see back in the days, people were hacking this through link sharing schemes. Easy gaming of the system. So here we can see that Google started to solve this. So it targeted website and penalized websites that were like kind of trying to hack the system basically. So we're spamming these link building practices. And then we have quality and relevance over volume. The focus shifted to earning natural high quality links from relevant sites. And then we can ask, what is the most important thing in SEO nowadays? The most important thing now is high quality, helpful content that directly satisfies user intent. And then we have user experience and performance. We can see that Google tracks dwell time, how long someone stays, and the bounce rate. If users quickly leave your site to return to search results, it signals that your content didn't help them. And we have mobile first, it's also really important. And we see if I ask the number one most important thing is like search intent. Now let's go back to our Lovable website, and hopefully now we have added all of these things that will help our SEO. So we see that we have some new routes and we have some plumbing. I think Lovable is just referring to fixing some of these things, I guess. So let's give this a try now. So let's navigate around. So we have styles here, pick a visual style and paste an idea. Okay, amazing. We have the storyboard landing page and we have the blog. Nice. Let's have it create a homepage as well. I'm going to send another prompt to try to use the maximize the SEO relevant content of the website. And we can also search up like how long does it take for Google to index the content of a new website. And we can see that Gemini now says that for a new website, Google typically takes 2 to 4 weeks to index, though it can range from a few days to over a month depending on the site quality. You know, I wouldn't expect our website, even if we have added all the necessary SEO details, to now rank when we search for this search term. But maybe in a few days, if we search for the exact name of the website, maybe we would find it if we maybe go through a couple of pages. And if we manage to get a lot of users, maybe a couple of thousands, maybe a couple of hundred users, then it might actually appear here when we search for it. Okay, there we go. Now Lovable has updated the homepage and implemented these things. So we can see that we have some more content now within the homepage, and this will most likely help us a bit when it comes to ranking in search. And we have our blog right here. We can read up on these topics. It seems like we're not actually getting anywhere where we press these because they haven't been implemented, but we can use prompt Lovable again, and Lovable will implement these various blog articles. I'm going to go ahead and publish this again. I'm going to run a security review. before I do. Okay, there we go. Now our security scan has been ran. I'm just going to press on try to fix all. Okay, now Lovable has resolved all of the security issues. So we can see fixed 3 issues remaining, 1 issue ignore, intentional async signing off model, the no security issues. Okay, yeah, so basically this one has been ignored because it's not very important. So basically it's intentional that users just have a like anonymous sign up such that they don't have to like put in all of their details. They're just signed up kind of on the back end by default. So let's now publish the site and then we should be good. There we go. Now our site is published again and up to date. Okay, there we go. So our performance is at 100%. Our SEO here is still loading. Accessibility 96%. Best practices 96%. We have some issues here we can fix. Network dependency. Avoid chaining critical requests by reducing the length of change, reducing the download size for resources, etc., etc. Use efficient caching lifetimes. We can try to fix this, but I think it's all good. I'm going to wait for this SEO thing to load as well. There we go. Okay, and we got 100% on SEO, which is perfect. So everything should be good to go now. I hope you guys have learned something about SEO today, and I hope you guys are excited about this update. We will also probably have like a documentation around this SEO dashboard and around some SEO things. We already have some details around SEO on the Lovable documentation. If I just open these up right here, SEO best practices. But this will be updated once this video is released, probably, because we have the separate dashboard. So you guys can check that out as well if you want it in written format and want to go more in depth. But thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.